Ms. Erebami Salako. We begin with headlines. Former State Governor Yahaya Bello honors invitation of AFCC relating to charges against him while he was in office. Plus, on the news, the federal government alerts Nigerians to the water release from Lagdo Dam in Cameroon. From the international scene, 9 people, including a child, killed after handheld pages used by members of armed group Hezbollah to communicate exploded across Lebanon. Details of these and more coming away soon. Stay with us. Many thanks for joining us at this time. Now, details of the news. Former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello has honored the invitation of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) relating to charges against him while he was in office. Bello arrived in the EFCC headquarters in Abuja in the company of his successor, Usman Ododo. Bello, who had been declared wanted over allegation of money laundering and corruption involving a staggering $80.2 billion, finally honored the EFCC investigation, arriving with several prominent politicians and APC stalwart. In a statement from Bello's media office, he confirmed that he accepted the invitation after consulting with his family, legal team and political allies, asserting that he has nothing to hide. This development comes after a history of resistance from Bello, who had previously evaded multiple EFCC invitations and faced a dramatic scene at his Abuja residence. Meanwhile, EFCC says Yahaya Bello is not in any of the Commission's facilities. This was contained in a press statement issued by the head of media and publicity, Dele Oyewale, on Wednesday. The Commission wishes to state that Bello is not in custody. Bello, already declared wanted by the Commission for alleged $80.2 billion money laundering charges, remained wanted with a subsistent warrant for his arrest. Now to other stories. The federal government alerts Nigerians to the water release from Lagdo Dam in Cameroon. The federal government made this known in a press statement signed by Director General, Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, Umar Mohammed. The statement noted that the authorities of the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon will initiate controlled water releases starting from Tuesday, September 17, 2024. It said the water discharge is anticipated to progressively escalate to 1,000 meter cube over the next 7 days based on the inflow from the upstream Gara River, which serves as the primary source into the reservoir and a significant tributary to the River Benue. Nonetheless, the dam operators have indicated that the planned water discharges will be gradual to avoid surpassing the conveyance capacity of the Benue River system and triggering substantial flooding downstream in Nigeria. The overflow from the Lagdo Dam is projected to cease once there is a noticeable reduction in the flow into the Lagdo reservoir. And now we have joining us from Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, to speak on this issue of flooding and diseases associated with it. We have Professor Oyewale Tomori, Professor of Virology, Disease Prevention Control. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us on our news at this time.
Good evening, and how are you doing yourself?
Okay, all right. Now, straight to the questions. What do you think are the likely health implications on humans as well as health facilities as flooding recedes?
Yeah, I think, first of all, we've seen the effect of the flood itself. But what happens is that because of the stagnant water, it creates an environment for bacteria and viruses to remain. And remember also the fact that you have those bacterial infection pathogens and also viral pathogens. They become a source of infection, particularly diseases like diarrhea, gastrointestinal infection will be a common thing to watch out for. You also find that because of the stagnant water, there will be breeding of mosquitoes and other things. You're likely to have increase in malaria. When you also remember that this flood has taken in a lot of chemicals and contaminants, that becomes a source of irritants to people on the skin and all that. But I'm more particularly worried about the laboratories at the university where you have this. I was told at the University of Maiduguri, their labs were all flooded. And I'm worried particularly about the polio lab that is in place there. If we're not really careful, we need to do something because the virus that may actually have been got into the flood, which remains stagnant somewhere. Also, bacterial infections and other things like that. Those are areas we need to watch out for.
Okay, all right. So apart from the flooding caused by excessive rainfall, now that the federal government has also given warning about Lagdo Dam release, there's no doubt that there would be worries that this would give room from some neglected tropical diseases to fester on residents of the affected community. What do you think the government can do to curtail that?
I think first and foremost, it's supposed to be, we need to alert disease surveillance for people to be out there monitoring what is happening. Any increase in number of these diseases I've listed, like malaria, like viral infections that may come because of the mosquitoes. Example, we have dengue, for example. You also have contamination from all sorts of things. So we need to improve our surveillance, monitor the people to find out if there are any increase in some of these diseases, skin infection, contamination, all those are factors that we need to look at. Now, once we do that, to quickly take action. And one of the things, the earlier we clear off the debris, the better. Providing good water supply to the people will be another approach that will help us in ensuring that we don't have these diseases that we're thinking about.
Okay, all right. So what would be your advice to the government of Nigeria in addressing this issue of flooding?
Well, the stories that I've come across is the fact that the rains are here and they're getting, these are some of the reasons why we have, when there's no place for the water to drain off, then, of course, you have flooding. And this comes from our gutters, our drainages are all blocked because they're not properly taken care of. People drop refuse everywhere. And of course, when the rain comes, it blocks up all the other things. And instead, there's no where for the water to go, it comes back into the houses. So we need to keep our environment clear because otherwise the water will not be able to flow. Our gutters, our drainages, some of them are eyesores. And I think this is something we need to begin to think about now. Those that don't have flood now, begin to look at your area. Clear your gutter, clear your drainages so that you don't have the water overcoming and coming into your houses.
Okay, all right. We thank you so much for sharing your views with us on Galaxy TV News. We truly appreciate your presence.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
All right, and that was Professor Oyewale Mori, Professor of Virology, Disease Prevention and Control, who joined us live from Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. And now to other stories. Former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo has tasked the Borno State Governor, Professor Babagana Umaru Zulum, to use the last week flood disaster in the state to show his leadership and courage qualities to overcome the unfortunate event. In a message of sympathy to the governor, the copy which was made available to newsmen by Special Assistant in Media Kehinde Akinyemi in Abeokuta, Obasanjo expressed his heartfelt sympathy to the government and people of Borno State for the huge loss of life and properties caused by the recent flood disaster. The former president noted that although seasonal flooding is not uncommon in many parts of Nigeria, all available accounts indicate that what Borno State has just suffered was one of the most devastating incidents in recent times. It is evident by the magnitude of the loss of human lives, harvested food crops, farmlands, livestock, buildings, and personal events involved. Obasanjo, however, stressed that it is usually in the midst of disasters of this nature that the qualities of good leadership and courage become manifest. He commended the government of Borno State for the swiftness and efficacy with which it rose to the challenge, giving every possible support in continued effort to provide succor to those who have been dislocated. You're still on to the news on Galaxy TV. Let's go on a break. When we come back, the news continues. We are glad to have you back. Now, for more updates and latest news, please visit our website www.galaxytvonline.com. Connect with thoughts on our X handle at Galaxy TV. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Galaxy TV News. You can follow and interact with us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Galaxy TV. Remember to follow and tag us on our Instagram page at Galaxy TV. You can also avail our Eyewitness feature via WhatsApp. If you have breaking news around you, simply share your story by sending short clips or videos of the news on 0818-6666-669. Our social media platforms are user-friendly and can always accommodate your live updates and comments, as you can easily scan our IG QR code. Now to education matters. The Honorable Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, on Wednesday participated in a panel discussion at Harvard Center for International Development focusing on scaling successful education program. The event is part of the Global Education and Research Unleashing Potential Gear Up initiative hosted by the Harvard Center for International Development, CID. The panel addressed critical topics like exploring strategies to recognize educational initiatives that yield positive outcomes and successful programs while ensuring equitable access for all students. Professor Mamman and other panelists presented examples of past successes in their respective countries. Additional discussions covered the integration of personalized learning into national policies, balancing personalization with scalability, the impact of big data on educational program, and the potential applications and challenges of AI tools in education. Still on that, the government at all levels in Nigeria have been advised to be more informed about the place and relevance of scientific research for national development. The Secretary General of the Africa Academy of Science, Professor Friday Okonofua, made the appeal at news conference in Abuja ahead of the forthcoming 15th General Assembly and Scientific Conference. Correspondent Kunle Ojo reports that Professor Okonofua noted that researchers often publish their findings in journals inaccessible to policymakers, creating a significant knowledge gap, saying the conference will address these challenges by facilitating dialogue and interactive sessions between scientists and policymakers. According to him, this collaboration will enable policymakers understand scientific advancements and take action accordingly by fostering a more collaborative relationship between science and policy. The upcoming 15th General Assembly and Scientific Conference in Abuja is scheduled for December 9 to 12, 2024.
Our government need to be interrogated, as you just said. We are scientists, and most of what we see, we do, are often not known to government. And that part of what has happened in science over the years is that we just conduct research, we publish them in journals. Some of these journals are not even available to policymakers. They are published outside the country for us to get promoted. They don't go into decision on policy making and all that. So it is now for you to help us ask questions in a way that will make you understand what science is doing.
Moving on to other stories, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has assured families of fallen heroes that their loved ones who lost their lives in the course of service to the nation would never be forgotten by the armed forces. Musa said this at the 35th anniversary and commissioning ceremony of the 31st Regular Course Memorial Park at the Nigerian Defense Academy at the Academy's headquarters in Kaduna. He vowed that the armed forces shall never surrender to the forces of adversity, nor shall they forget the sacrifices of their fallen heroes. Musa, who was represented by the NDA Commandant Major General John Ochai, said fallen heroes would be honored than just soldiers, and that they were husbands, wives, fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters. Earlier, President of the 31st Regular Course Association, Major Lancelot Anya, retired, said apart from legacy project for their coursemates who died in active service, the association has a support system for their widows.
Today, we gather to pay tribute to our brave men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the service of our great nation. We remember those who have fallen in the line of duty, particularly those who lost their lives at sea and in air crashes. Our fallen heroes were more than just soldiers.
Friends of the boat in which 11 of our customers died at Onne during a training exercise had been at the Nigerian Navy shipyard at Port Harcourt for some years. 35 years later, we gather here on the grounds of the NDA, where our journey together began, for a landmark reunion. It is for us, our spouses and children, a time to return, to remember, to reflect, to reminisce, to recall memories, the pleasant and not too pleasant.
To commemorate an auspicious event like this, we reflect on our journey so far. After careful and detailed deliberation as a cause, we thought it wise that our classmates who have fallen along the line of duty be remembered. It is worth mentioning that our course had its first casualties in our first year in the Defense Academy when we lost 11 of our naval classmates in a boat mishap during a training exercise at the Nigerian Naval College, Onne.
Angry youth and women in the Edo community of Ikpoba-Awka local government area of the state have resisted the arrest of their leader by operatives of the Nigerian police. The youth who had on Tuesday raised their alarm over the planned arrest of their leader ahead of Saturday's governorship election watched helplessly as policemen in the Toyota Sienna SUV tried to force a PDP leader identified as a forcer into their waiting SUV before they fled the scene after much pressure from residents. The video of the field arrest by the police, which is now gone viral, is coming days after the Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, raised a similar alarm over the arrest of party faithfuls across the state. Meanwhile, youth and the elderly from Ikpoba-Awka have promised to take to the streets before the election on Saturday in protest over police harassment, which the police spokesperson of the state, Moses Yamu, has since denied. Still on security-related matters, the Anambra Police Command says it is doing a lot in ensuring that the killings of its officers and men by hoodlums suspected to be members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra IPOB does not repeat itself. Spokesperson of the command, Tochukwu Ikenga, made this known while speaking with journalists at the police headquarters in Awka, the state capital. Correspondent Dele Fasson has more.
Over 6 policemen have been killed in a line of duty, with several cars burnt and 3 police stations set ablaze in the last 2 months in Anambra State by a secessionist group. The Anambra Police Command spokesperson Tochukwu Ikenga, while speaking with newsmen, said the command would no longer fold its arms and watch criminal elements destroy the state.
Anambra State Police Command is actually doing a lot, in as much as we have experienced or recorded some casualties in terms of our policemen being murdered, gruesomely murdered by this secessionist group. May I use this opportunity to thank members of the public for reaching out to us and consoling the command, but also to remind especially the listeners and these criminal elements, that the command will not fold its hand, allow such criminal-minded persons take over the country, or rather the state.
He described the attack on government infrastructures as an attack on the soul of the nation.
May I use this opportunity to let members of the public know that attack not only on police facilities, but any government agency is a pure attack on the soul of the nation. And this is not good for each and every one of us.
The Anambra Police Commissioner, CP Nage Obono, had also promised to bring the perpetrators of the dastardly act to book. From Anambra State, Daily Fast on reporting for Galaxy TV News.
Now, we move to the international desk for more news.
Hello and welcome to the foreign news. 9 people, including a child, have been killed after handheld pagers used by members of the armed group Hezbollah to communicate exploded across Lebanon, the country's health minister said. Iran's ambassador to Lebanon was among 2,800 other people who were wounded by the simultaneous blast in Beirut and several other regions. Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, said the pagers belong to employees of various Hezbollah units and institutions and confirmed the death of 8 fighters. The group blamed Israel for what it called this criminal aggression and vowed that it will get just retribution. The Israeli military declined to comment. Hours before the explosions, Israel's Security Cabinet said stopping Hezbollah attacks in the north of the country to allow the safe return of displaced residents was an official war goal. There have been almost daily exchanges of fire across the Israel-Lebanon border since the day after the start of the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza on 7th of October. Hezbollah has said it is acting in support of the Iran-backed Palestinian group. In its latest statement on Wednesday, Hezbollah said it would carry on its operations in support of Gaza, adding that this was a continuous path separate from the hard price that awaits the enemy in response to its massacre on Tuesday. Both Hezbollah and Hamas are proscribed as terrorist organizations by Israel.
That's it for now. We'll join us at 9 p.m. for our prime time news. My name is Iribami Salako. Goodbye.
Galaxy TV at a glance this week.